Longhorn fans, Sooner Nation, welcome to episode 120 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, I don't know how many days away we are from the start of college football. It's like 65 days or some crazy, whatever the number is, right? But we are close. Yeah. We can feel it.
We're in the 40s. We're in the 40s now.
Might be in the 40s. We're going to be talking.
Mid-40s, I think.
Yeah, we had SEC Media Days. We're going to be talking all about that. We're getting there. And you know what I get yesterday? From a friend of mine. His name is, he knows who he is, Johnny Chang, if that's his real name. You know what he sends me via text message?
What's that?
That he has a wedding reception scheduled for 5:30 on September 28th in Dallas, Texas. Is he out of his damn mind?
That's not cool. It's his wedding? Or is it just somebody else's wedding?
Oh, it's his wedding. And here's the deal.
Oh.
Listen, I've known this guy. I met him. I was a roommate with him in Dallas when I met Alice, my now wife. So I've known this guy well over 20 years. He's a UCLA grad, and he is a Texas master's. He graduated with his MBA from Texas. All right. He went with me to the UCLA Oklahoma game back when CeeDee Lamb made that catch on the sideline. He was at that game, the Kyler game. This is a great guy. Here's the deal. I don't know that I ever thought he was going to get married. He was holding out, right, for like his dream girl. And, like on the side, I'm like telling Alice, maybe the dude should just settle because this guy's got some very high standards that I don't know that he can live up to. Does that make sense? Like, I know this dude. I lived with this dude for like 4 months. I'm like, I don't know. Listen, I see the picture. He might have got his dream girl. The holdout might have been worth it.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what's not worth it. I'll tell you what's not worth it is scheduling a wedding reception on the 28th of September when Oklahoma's going to be playing Auburn. I already texted him, dude. I don't care.
Yeah.
We were on a group text with my wife. She thought I was joking because I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not going. And no, she's like gives the laughing faces and emoji faces and likes this and laughs and blah, 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 blah. And then she gets home. She's like, so are we, but I'm like, no, I'm not going.
Yeah, I was not planning. I'm not going.
No. I'll see him later. Like, I'm going to be down in Dallas for OU, Texas. Like, I'll see him down there. I'll take him out. She's like, no, it's his wedding reception. I go, I don't care. He should know better. Listen,
he has to.
I know look. I know he's a UCLA fan, and they don't give a about college football at UCLA. I get that. I understand that. But, dude, he graduated from Texas in some capacity.
Correct.
Okay? He's got orange shirts. He owns orange shirts. I don't own orange shirts. You do, right? That's enough to know. You don't schedule. Yes. At 5:30, that is in the prime window, too, dude. And
correct.
Listen, man, this is our first road game in the SEC. This is Auburn. This is War Eagle. I just heard Tommy Tuberville talking about, somebody asked him in a political interview what SEC game they should go watch this year. And he's like, oh, that's easy. Auburn, Oklahoma. He's like, they're still Oklahoma. This is Tommy Tuberville. Years after being the coach, still touting Oklahoma and Auburn is probably the best matchup in the SEC. I'm not coming to this dude's reception. Johnny, I'm sorry. I don't know. Should I feel bad about this? Because I don't think I should feel bad.
I don't think you should, man.
Dude, I don't know what he's thinking.
This is back in 2005. I had a friend, a pretty close friend at the time. Send me
real quick. That makes it sound like y'all aren't close anymore.
Yeah, you grow apart with friends. You know how it goes. Nothing bad happened.
Okay,
but get an invitation.
Not because of this story you're about to tell.
No. We remained friends after that.
Okay,
but I get an invitation, and for his wedding, and the date on it is September 10th, 2005.
Ohio State.
I took one look at it. I'm like, I'm not going. Yes, it was Texas versus Ohio State. Vince Young playing in Columbus. Come on. Yeah. I mean, I've been looking forward to that game for 4 years. As soon as they scheduled it, I'm like, sorry, man, I'm not going. You could have had it 2 weeks prior, middle of August, I'd have been there. But yeah, can't do it, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little story about the greatest wedding I ever attended. Okay, this is the single greatest wedding I've ever attended. You're looking at my man, Kevin Miller, marrying his beautiful bride, Casey. What's the date going to be? Is it this Saturday?
Yes.
So that's July
20th.
Okay, listen, July 20th. You want to pick a day to get married? Do July 20th. There's nothing going on July 20th, number one. Number two, they have the wedding. Get this, guys, 10 a.m. in the morning. Okay? 10 a.m. This is not ruining your Saturday night at all. In fact, it's great. 10 a.m. at a venue that had weddings stacked up like every 2 hours. So like they warned us, hey, it's going to be a quick wedding and we're going to be out of here. Now, I didn't believe that because I've never been to a quick wedding where I wasn't ready to leave before it was over. Dude, your wedding, Kevin, was like a military op. It was like T-top, time minus 10, time minus 15. It was like, do. Listen, the ceremony was quick. They didn't make you wait for pictures. They were in the reception hall like that. Then, on top of all that, Rudy's Barbecue and Donuts. That was the fare served at my man Kevin Miller's wedding. If you want to know why we're friends to this day, it's because of his wedding. There's no other reason. Okay? And then at 11:45, they're like, okay, y'all got to go. You got to get out of here. They got to get ready for the next wedding. Kevin and his wife, y'all were in your car. We're waving goodbye. And they're like, you're out. It was fantastic. I'm telling you, if you want to know how to plan a wedding, you get a hold of Kevin or Casey because they planned a wedding. It was fantastic. And it was not on a college football Saturday.
Correct. And that's the most important part. If it's a long wedding, that's fine. Just don't do it in, between. It's not a long season. It's literally between September and December. It's not a long part of the year.
Have some common sense. Have some self-awareness of where you raise in people's lives.
You have to be prepared for people not to show up for that reason.
Yeah, well, I already texted him. I told him, and my wife's like, wow, I'm like, she thinks I'm it won't happen. That's good. This is all good. Real quick, shout out to my own wife. Also a wedding in July 23rd. Again, nothing going on. The wedding, it kind of like the wedding and the reception were over 2 days. So this goes against my theory of like a short, tight scenario. But still, it was in July.
Fine,
yeah, I can deal with it. And so happy 20th anniversary to my wife early, in case she's listening. All right, Kevin. Now to the meat and bones and potatoes of this podcast. SEC Media Days happened this week. It was official on July 1st. This made it even more and more and more official as we get closer and closer to the season. Oklahoma brought Stutzman and Bowman and Arnold, along with Coach Brent Venables. Texas with Quinn Ewers, Kelvin Banks, and remind me the last guy.
Jahdae Barron.
Jahdae Barron. That's right, your secondary guy. Let's start with the University of Texas. Quinn walked in like he was the cock of the walk. If there was a big man on campus at the SEC Media Days, it was Quinn Ewers. He had the hat. He had the suit. Look, I hate Quinn. I don't think Quinn Ewers is really that good. And I've been on record about saying that. But if you want to talk about confidence and swag, I'm going to give the guy a 10. That dude walked in with confidence and swag. I don't think it's merited. I don't think it's worth it. But you as a Texas fan had to look at that tape and go, that's my guy, and feel pretty good about him. Am I wrong?
Hey, you gotta be confident, man. That's how you gotta live life. No matter who you are, you gotta be confident in yourself. And yeah, he came in with a nice suit, had the Longhorn belt buckle on, had the boots on, had the hat. He was Texas to the core, and I love it. I'm here for it.
There was nothing. Look. The only thing more Texas, and I don't even know if it is more Texas. Maybe it is. Maybe he's as Texas as you could get. But if he was in a scene to Friday Night Lights or something, I mean, that was like he just, dude, chest was puffed. It reminds me of. We're going to talk a little bit about the British Open later, but I went to the Masters in 2014, way back when, and I saw Rory McIlroy. Now, keep in mind, in 2014, McIlroy's at the top of the golf world. Okay, he would go on to win 2 more majors that year in particular, or at least one. But anyway, he just walked, chest out, puffed. I mean, just as if that's what Quinn Ewers reminded me of, is the cockiness and the arrogance of a Rory McIlroy. Since 2014, Rory McIlroy hasn't won anything. I wonder, do you fear that Quinn Ewers is going to follow that same path and going to fall back into mediocrity this year?
No, not at all. Yeah. Wishful thinking on your part, though, but have at it. This is what we do.
I still contend that he's losing his top 4 pass catchers.
Yeah.
He's losing his top 4 pass catchers. If he wasn't an All-American, was Jatavion Sanders an All-American tight end?
I don't know if he's All-American. They're all conference, though.
He was really good. I mean, we know how good he was. He's losing Sanders. He's losing Whittington. Obviously, Xavier Worthy. I still contend A.D. Mitchell ended up being his favorite receiver. Maybe he wouldn't admit that, but it sure did look like it. All those guys are gone. So I want to see that chemistry. We talked about it in the last episode that he had improved on accuracy, but to see a real jump, at least for me, it had to be in the quarterback, in the touchdown numbers. We got to see those touchdown numbers go up, especially in the SEC. So that's still going to be it. But the Walker, did he say anything? I didn't watch him because the sight of him is repugnant. But did he say anything that you felt good about in terms of his interviews?
No, just just confident in himself, confident in our team, confident in the players around him. So, and I think that's a common theme for Texas and also for Oklahoma when we get to you guys.
Sark, also in the cowboy hat, also riding a mechanical bull. Was it an actual mechanical bull or was it just a stationary bull?
I'm assuming it was stationary. I don't think he'd be on a mechanical bull in a suit. It's not a good look, man.
I didn't think it was a good look at all anyway. I thought it was a little
over the top. Yeah. I understand that.
Here's the deal with Quinn.
I'm not arguing with you on that.
Here's the deal. Quinn's from Texas.
Yeah.
Quinn's from Texas. So he looked quintessential Texas. You and I are from Texas. I would not choose that as my garb, but whatever. Quinn looked. Sark, it's a little now. Look, he's been in Texas long enough. He's 3 years in. Took you to a college football playoff. Won your Big 12 championship in the last year. He's earned his right, but it kind of had a Brian Kelly talking in a Cajun accent quality to it when he's on the bull.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. The Brian Kelly thing, man. Where did that come from?
I'm sorry. The Brian Kelly thing was worse. The Brian Kelly thing was worse. I will give you that.
It was hilarious. But hey, yeah, it was funny seeing the mechanical. I did not expect that. I didn't know where it came from. Like, did we bring that thing with us? Either way, man, I really enjoyed seeing Sark up there on that stage. Quote that stands out to me: when I took the job at the University of Texas and I walked into DKR, one of the first signs I saw was a quote that I put up in my office that I would always and forever hold on to. The pride and winning tradition at the University of Texas shall not be entrusted to the weak nor the timid. That's not going to change now that we've changed conferences. We're going to attack this thing. Got a ton of respect for this conference and the teams in this conference, but we're going to go attack it and try to win a conference championship because that's why we're at the University of Texas.
I like that.
So, man, just letting everybody know, listen, we respect the heck out of this conference, right? We respect the fans, we respect the teams, we respect the coaches, the passion, all of it. But we're not scared, man. No, we're not scared. We're not here to, see how we can do. No, we're here to try to win. Let's go.
Sark addressed losing 13 players to the NFL. He compared the Texas program and where it's going to Georgia and Alabama and their need to re-recruit every year. Is he a little wishful thinking in your ability to reload, or do you feel as confident as Sark does?
I feel pretty confident, man. There's obviously questions, and there are going to be questions with every team, right? But I like the talent that we have. I like the fact that we have guys that have been in the program for a few years and have been learning only this way, right? A lot of the older guys that came in under Herman kind of had to re-show them what this staff expects. These current players have been with this staff since the beginning, right? Since they got there. So I like that. I like the culture that we have now. I like the talent that we have, especially at receiver. Again, no experience, very, very limited experience, but I love the talent that we have there. I think we're really deep. So I can't wait to see how it unfolds on the field. What's up?
I will say, I thought it was interesting. He specifically called out some transfers when he was talking about this issue of depth. He called out 3 transfers. None of them were receivers. Just for whatever that means. We can read into it or not read into it at all. He called out Bill Norton, the defensive tackle that transferred from Arizona. Talked about just his sheer size, that he's just a giant, which is what both schools Texas and Oklahoma need going into the SEC. He called out Jermaine Lowell and his ability to play multiple positions, and he called out Javion Cole as a natural cover corner. Any comments on those three? Did he hit the right three transfers in your mind, or did he make a mistake leaving off the receivers?
No, at the end, I think you're referring to a specific interview. I know at his press conference, he did talk about the transfer receivers a little bit. He talked about Isaiah Bond, transfer from Alabama, who caught that incredible pass from Milroe to steal the Iron Bowl. Matthew Golden. Yeah, it was. Matthew Golden, who comes over from Houston, big-time playmaker for them, also a great kickoff returner. And also Silas Bolden, who came from Oregon State. So those are the three receiver transfers we got. And we also have Jonte Cook, who was a five-star who played some last year, and DeAndre Moore out of California, and Ryan Niblett. Got a lot of depth there. And, of course, Ryan Wingo, the true freshman, who I expect to be really good out of the St. Louis area. So, man, I love our receiving core. I love the talent. We just need some more experience. So I think those guys, though, we talked about this. When you become a really good program, a reloading program, right? So you have guys like A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, Jatavian Sanders, Jordan Whittington. But then behind them, you got ultra-talented guys who are just starving to get on the field to show what they can do. So what I'm hoping is that those guys, DeAndre Moore, Jonte Cook, Ryan Wingo, can, get out there and just ball. Because, hey, and let everybody know, we might be new, but we know what we're doing. We've got talent, and we're going to go make things happen this year.
What I find fascinating in the modern college game, with recruiting is, and we've known this isn't new. This has been the last 15, 20 years. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield, look at Kyler Murray, and even further back than that. Guys don't want to wait around to play. So unless you're at Georgia, Alabama, maybe Ohio State, you got to recruit guys at a really, really high level that are also cognizant of the success that they're likely to have in that program to want to stay. So that's already.
Completely agree.
So is it when you're recruiting, and I don't know the answer to this, I'm just kind of talking off the cuff here, but if you look at a Sark or even a BV, you're having to recruit with a certain amount of timing, right, for every position, so that player has, a redshirt year and then maybe a true freshman year, but then they got to be ready to go. And if they're not, now you're even talking about transferring them out. If they're not ready to go, it's a transfer out, a process out situation, right? You're trying to.
I agree, and I think that's why I know it's a you got to manage it, and I think that's why we're seeing programs really have these general managers.
Yeah, did you see? Now, did Texas hire one?
Yes, I forget who it is. I don't have it in
Did you see who the OU general manager is?
Was it Curtis Lofton?
It's Curtis Lofton. I am intrigued by that. Great linebacker at OU. And what sucks about Curtis Lofton, you talk about this kind of reload situation, is he really only had one great year at OU, but it was so good that he was gone.
Yeah.
And man, if he'd have played another year, I think he would have gone down as a great one, but he had a really good year.
Really talented guy.
I wonder.
It's interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that, you have to understand who you have on the team, and who's coming up. And I think during the recruiting process, you have to let these guys know, like a Jonte Cook, hey, listen, man, we've got Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell in front of you, but next year you're going to have all the opportunity to win a starting job. You're going to play as a freshman. And he did. He was out there when we hit that deep pass against Alabama from Quinn to Xavier Worthy. He was on the field on that same play. So it's not like he wasn't playing. He just wasn't a key guy. So it's important for him to get out there and get his feet wet a little bit, learn from those guys, and then now know that he has the opportunity to be a starter this year. So I think it's just communicating with the guys and just being upfront with them during the recruiting process. Now, look, some guys are going to just transfer, right? Especially if they're just behind a bunch of guys. With Jamison Williams he played for the Detroit Lions. He was at Ohio State, and he transferred to Alabama because he was just kind of stuck behind Garrett Wilson, all those guys there.
Yeah.
Right? It happens from time to time. You're going to lose talented guys, but it's just the current state of the game.
Yeah. So anyway, in addition to that, in addition to all that discussion, which I still think is the biggest question mark for Texas, for me, is the defensive line. But anyway, we've kind of beat that. We'll come back to it as we get closer to the season. Did you notice the love fest between Sark and Nick Saban?
Yeah,
there was a bromance going on between those two. They truly like each other. Did you pick up on that?
I think they're really close, man. I think for Sark is just so loyal to him just because, after what happened at USC, he was just kind of scrappy.
Yeah.
And say, hey, why don't you come in and be an analyst for us? Came in and, next thing you know, he's getting the job to be the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons.
Saban was asked, what's the one question for Texas? Like, what's the one question he wants to know from Sark? And Saban asked, he wanted to know, who is Texas's other cornerback? And the assumption there is that Malik Muhammad is the starter.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So then that means your options include Gavin Holmes, the aforementioned Javion Cole. Do you have an answer to Nick Saban's question? Who is the other Texas starter at corner?
I don't. It's a fascinating battle that I'm looking forward to in fall camp coming up here in a few weeks. Because they're both talented guys. We've seen Holmes out there a little bit last year. He was okay. And, Sark mentioned the corner position, mentioned that we need to cover better. He said that, one, we got to cover people. You got to guard people better. You have to have people that can guard the receivers. You also have to have the schemes to guard those people. He also mentioned we have to have a better way to affect the quarterback. So I think he understands that we got to be better in the secondary. We had some guys last year, and we talked about this, that we lost, and I wasn't upset about it. Right?
Yeah, you lost two.
The portal. Yeah, the safeties that we lost, Jaron Thompson. And, I'm not upset about that because I think the talent behind them is better. I think we'll be able to cover better. But that matchup between Cole, who's a transfer from San Jose State, and Gavin Holmes, who was a transfer last year from Wake Forest, it'll be interesting to see. We've also got some talented freshmen who will be in the mix.
As a side note, I think Saban did a fantastic job in his first SEC media days. I thought he was really interesting to listen to. You could tell he did his homework and brought an otherworldly perspective, right? I mean, he's probably the best college coach of all time.
Absolutely. In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah,
it's not even a close second for me.
I agree. I think you're probably right. And so and in addition to that, the tactician that he is, right? And understanding. So when he's asking about that corner, he's thinking like 3 levels down from that, right? So it's like, who's the corner? Because that affects your ability to cover and your ability to rush the quarterback and your ability to scheme and, all of the things. He was building all of that.
He's basically game planning, right?
Yeah.
If I'm playing against you, okay, we respect Manny Muhammad out there at corner, but this other guy, we're going to attack him. So who's it going to be?
Yeah.
He knows clearly he knows the roster well up and down because,
he had to do it 2 years in a row.
Correct.
Yeah, well, and he had to do it 2 years in a row, and so he's got a vibe for that. So it was really good. All right, on the Oklahoma, that's enough Texas stuff. That almost wore me out. On the Oklahoma side, Coach BV, I thought did a pretty good job. Early in his career, when he would do a press conference, it would be these lengthy diatribes that would just kind of go on and on and on and on. And I think he was finding his voice, finding what works, finding how he wants to structure speeches and communications and things like that. This was he had a very tight intro. It was very specific. And I just appreciate it. You can tell the maturity in year 3, right? Going into year 3, you're like, oh, okay, this coach is starting to figure out his voice, which I liked. He emphasized, the biggest thing he did was emphasize what happened in 23. And he talked about OU's not having an ability to deal with success. That coming off of that Texas win, they didn't respond very well. If you can remember, they went into that UCF game at home. Dude, they barely won that game. Like, that game kind of gets brushed away. They barely beat a not very good UCF team. Obviously go to Kansas and lose, later going on to Oklahoma State. So they didn't deal with that. He pinpointed, again, dealing with success and then really decision making and turnovers. He's like, the turnovers are just going to kill you. You think about that Kansas game. Obviously, as a fan, you go back to like the last group of plays where they ran the ball a lot, and you question Levy and all that. Man, there was a pick six, like first play of the game for Oklahoma against Oklahoma.
It was a bad one too.
It was a bad one.
It was a bad one.
It was a bad. And so you think about that, you're like, oh my God, just take that away. Like maybe we can run the ball in the last 3 minutes of the game if we take that away. So there's a lot of it makes sense. I also think it was a little bit of projection onto Jackson Arnold and what he experienced coming out of the Alamo Bowl, where you saw some talent, right? You saw some arm talent. You saw some playmaking ability, but you also saw decisions that were like, that's fine in a bowl game. We're all okay in a bowl game, right? It's the Alamo Bowl. It's a glorified exhibition. You're not doing that in the SEC. Like that, you're getting eaten alive. You make those decisions in the SEC, and regardless of what team you play, it doesn't matter. You go all the way down to Mississippi State and South Carolina. It doesn't matter. You make those decisions, you're getting beat. So I think in a way, he's talking about his team from last year, but he's also projecting on what he expects and needs to get from Jackson Arnold. So I thought that was pretty good stuff. Gave some updates. Well, before I do that, my biggest takeaway from SEC Media Days, listening to the other coaches and the other players and the network, which, by the way, I'm kind of dig the SEC network. I think they get pretty good coverage.
Me too. And I've always thought that, before we were members of it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I never really watched it, and so
they're very serious people.
They're very serious people, and the people they have are pretty legit.
Correct. They're serious about this. They know how important it is to the people who are watching it. So they deliver even their ex-players are really good that are on there.
So back to my biggest takeaway, though, is that it feels like everybody is happy OU is in the conference. Like natural fit, history, tradition, brand, all of the things that you need. Nobody is questioning the fit of Oklahoma and or Texas, but we're talking about Oklahoma here. Nobody's questioning the fit of Oklahoma within the framework of the SEC. And everybody is talking about that. But expectations are, for an OU fan and the pride that I have in our OU football team, they're painfully low expectations from everybody else in the league. I know that should be a chip on the shoulder, and I know that they don't know the Oklahoma program like OU fans know the program and players know the program and all of this kind of stuff, and even Texas knows OU's program. At the same time, it makes me nervous, man. Is it going to be as bad as they make it out to be? Do you see what I'm saying? Like the psychology.
No. It's a really, really fair question for you to have. I don't think so, man. I thought Venables did a pretty good job, in this quote, right? As competitors, as a football program, Oklahoma isn't intimidated as a football program. We're running towards the SEC, right?
Yeah.
I think that goes without saying. We've looked forward for the last several years for this partnership to be part of an amazing conference, the best conference in college football, right? And again, I don't think people are underestimating, or maybe they are, but I don't know if they're underestimating Oklahoma as a program. I think maybe people are looking at that schedule and like, man, it's going to be rough. That schedule, it's a rough schedule, man.
It's a rough schedule, but there's a path to 9 games. And when we pick, when we pick, when we pick our season predictions and we go through that, there's a path to 9 games. Now, I'll tell you, I think the key to the entire season, and you hate to have a must-win game so early on in the season, but it's game 4 it's the SEC opener against Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee, yeah.
That is a must-win game for Oklahoma. Tennessee is in very much the same situation as OU in terms of having a redshirt freshman quarterback.
Redshirt freshman 5-star quarterback too. So.
Well, we got a redshirt freshman 5-star.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. That's a similar. That's
very similar. Yeah.
You're redshirt freshman 5-star quarterback.
Yeah. And we saw signs from Nico very much with the same with JFA, right? That, hey man, this guy's, and I don't know his last name. There's no way. You know his last name?
That's Iamaleava.
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. So you got Nico. We know Josh Heupel can coach. He's done great things at Tennessee. They're a good program. They've recruited well, but they're very much on the same, I think, competitive level as OU. Like, we are at home. It's our first game of the year in the SEC. Oklahoma's got to win that game. I think that sets the entire tone for the season. Oklahoma gets beat by 2 touchdowns, and Arnold throws 3 interceptions. Red flags are going to pop up, and all of these expectations that are so low are going to be proven right.
Agreed. It's a massive game. First of all, just the storylines behind it with Josh Heupel coming back to Norman for the first time, and as head coach of the University of Tennessee, going up against Brent Venables, who was on the staff while he was a player there. I mean, it's just going to be an interesting atmosphere there. I'm sure it'll be deafening in your stadium. So yeah, man, it's important.
It's a must win. It's a must. Yeah. In my mind, it's a must win. And I know
it only gets harder from there. That's the thing.
It's a weird thing to say on July 18th, but you're right. It does only get harder. So here's the deal: when you're Oklahoma, okay, and I talked about this. I was on the KREF yesterday, and I think this formula is much the same for Texas. We are in a new era of college football. Not just a new conference, but a new era because we have a 12-team playoff, okay? So we don't have to have a miracle season to make the playoff, okay? Texas doesn't have to just have one loss. Oklahoma doesn't just have to go undefeated or have one loss. That's not the same situation that we were in last year. So the formula has to be you have to win your home games and you have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Okay.
Absolutely.
Tennessee's a home game. Alabama, it's a home game. Now, can we beat Alabama? Well, that sounds very daunting to say on July 18th. But when you get into the heart of the season, dude, they're going to be as beat up as we are. Whoever you've got late in the season, A&M, whatever, it's going to be as beat up as you are. You've got to win those home games. That means you go to LSU, then you don't know where LSU is at that point of the year. Are you supposed to beat them team? But you've got to win your home games and you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You got to beat South Carolina. You got to beat Mississippi State. Does OU play Florida? I never remember if we play Florida.
I don't think you play Florida.
Okay. You got to beat Missouri. I think Missouri's a must-win game. I think you should beat Missouri kind of team. So anyway, I think that's the new formula. I think it's fascinating. Long story short, must-win Tennessee. Real quick.
You got some fun games, by the way. You guys have some fun
games. Including one on September 28th, which I'll be watching instead of going to my friend's wedding reception. Also a must-win game because we got to beat them. He also gave injury updates, which I thought were pretty interesting. Among those that are fully released, Gentry Williams at corner, which he's emerging as our number 1 corner, and I think Woody's kind of being relegated to the number 2 corner on the other side. Gentry looked great when he was in. Our defense looked different when he was in. So you got to hope to have him for the entire year. Garen Hatchett at offensive line and Casey Thompson fully released. Those not fully released, specifically Andrell Anthony and Jaleel Farouk. Andrell Anthony, I feel like I think we're good at wide receiver. We've talked about Nick Anderson and all the guys, Deion Burks, all these guys. Andrell Anthony was our best receiver through 6 games.
Yeah.
We need him back. I don't know what that is, but we need him back. It's an ACL tear.
Did he give an update? Did he give a timeline as to when?
No, he didn't give it. He just said not fully released, hoping to get practice in before the start of the season. Gotcha. So that's to me, that's a pretty big deal. That's a big deal. But anyway, overall, pretty good SEC media days. I love that it was in Dallas. That made it really convenient to have a lot of local reporters there and stuff. Our radio station of choice, KREF, was there all week. Those guys gave great coverage.
Yeah, Tyler McComas suited up.
Dude, Tyler McComas was everywhere.
He was everywhere, man.
He was everywhere.
He was a hot commodity. So shout out to Tyler.
Great. Yeah, Tyler was great. Speaking of shout outs, real quick shout out. Brown O'Havers, our title sponsor. Brown O'Havers, public insurance adjusting company. They work for the insured, not the insurance company. The way this works is if you have a loss to your home or your business, the insurance company is going to assign an adjuster. That adjuster works for them. Under the state laws of Oklahoma, you have the right to hire your own adjuster. That's where we come in. You can hire Brown O'Haver. Brown O'Haver works for you, not the insurance company, to make sure you get paid your full and fair settlement. Typically, we get our clients 30 to 40% more than they do on their own. If you've had a loss or you know somebody that has, remember this number, 405-735-5510. Call Brown O'Haver. Let them get you more money for your insurance claim. Kevin, my brother sent me an email yesterday. We're starting to get requests now on what to talk about on the podcast, which I love it. Okay. My brother sent me a request. He sent me the list from ESPN, the top 100 athletes so far in the 2000s.
Okay, so this century.
This century. I think technically the century started in 2001, but they went from 2000.
Okay.
Have you seen the list?
I haven't gone through the list.
Okay, I'm going to go through the top 10 just very quickly. I don't want people get.
Are you going 10 to 1 or 1 through 10?
I'll go 1 through 10 because it doesn't matter. Because
okay.
I think the list is wrong. Is basically what I'm saying. I do not like the formation of the included people on the list. Fine. The order, not great. So I don't love it. So we'll have a chance here to have some discussion and modify this list and correct it. Okay.
Okay.
Number 1, Michael Phelps, 28-time Olympic gold medalist. Wow. Ironically enough, named his son Boomer after the Boomer Bevo podcast, which I appreciate.
Of course.
Serena Williams, 23-time major champion. Okay, at number 2, that's it's a bold pick. Messi, pretty good pick.
Okay.
Number 3. I don't mind Messi at 3. LeBron's at number 4.
Okay. Is there a problem?
I don't know. Do you think there's a problem with LeBron James being at number 4?
No. Well, let's see who else is on there. Then we'll go to that.
Oh, I don't know. How about a guy by the name of Thomas Paine Brady, who, I don't know, has 7 Super Bowl wins. He's got more Super Bowls than half the league does in terms of franchises. 7-time Super Bowls, including one at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay had never won anything ever in their lives, ever. I guess maybe one Super Bowl.
He's got more Super Bowl than every franchise has.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes. But that's okay. That's all right. Roger Federer at number 6. I was surprised by that. Djokovic is going to at 11. I thought Djokovic might have made a little run at him. I do love Federer, though. What a smooth player. He was great. Simone Biles at 7.
Okay.
No. You like Simone Biles at 7?
Seems a little high for me.
Okay. All right. Way too low. Number 8's way too low on the list. It's insane how low number 8 is.
Who's in red?
Eldrick Tiger Woods.
Oh, no. 8?
That's terrible.
You go?
That's terrible. I have no idea what's even happening. Usain Bolt at 9. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant at 10. Kevin, there's a lot more down the list. Real quick. Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Ronaldo, the soccer player, Steph Curry, Katie Ledecky, Tim Duncan at 16. I think well-deserved. I think appropriately ranked at 16.
Yes.
Shaquille O'Neal at 17. Pat Mahomes probably could be higher at 18. An F1 driver, Lewis Hamilton, Aaron Donald, Diana Taurasi, Sidney Crosby, Kevin Garnett, Albert Pujols, Floyd Money Mayweather. Let's focus on the top 10, though, unless anybody pops out at you. Did you have time while I was going through that to rank your own top 10, or would you like to hear my top 10?
No, but I'd love to hear yours.
Okay. Well, as I'm talking about it, feel free to put your top 10 together, and we can
do
it. All right. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Here, I did 7.
Okay.
I did 7, and after that, I don't really care. Okay. After that, if we're gonna, it's like the old BCS, right? If we're gonna argue the 5th place team. That doesn't bother me. Whatever. So we're gonna go. I got 7 though that I think make a lot more sense. Okay. Tom Brady's number 1, man. Tom Brady's number 1.
I have no issue with that whatsoever.
He won a Super Bowl in 2002, the 2001 season, and then won another Super Bowl in 2020 for 20 years of excellence. I think he won his division every single year. It's insane. The numbers are insane. He's the greatest quarterback. I'm sorry, we're in America. This is an American list. Michael Phelps was up there, but he's a better. Come on, it's Tom Brady. It's number one. I'm sorry. Okay, that's fine. You think about that. Number one. Number two, Tiger Woods. It's Tiger Woods.
I completely agree.
Tiger Woods, guys. Listen, Tiger Woods. I don't even know how to explain it, but he made everybody want to watch golf. He made everybody want to play golf. He made everybody dress. Everybody bought his Nike stuff. He was the Michael Jordan of the 2000s when it came to apparel and equipment and influence and Nike influence. He's freaking Tiger Woods. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for all the non-essential sports. Golf is a non-essential, a non-major sport. It doesn't matter. It's Tiger Woods. He's number two.
Dominant.
I like Michael Phelps at 3. Every 4 years, you're reminded of how good this guy was. Okay? I do like him at 3. He was amazing. And he's got some highlight reel wins and then some just blow people out of the water wins. I like Michael Phelps at 3. He was dynamic. They always tried to create a rival with who was the other guy they tried to create a rival with? Oh my gosh.
Oh, I know who you're talking. I can't think of his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Kind of had a dumb look on his face. Ryan, somebody, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that wasn't a rival. Stop it. It was Michael Phelps and everybody else. I like Messi. I like Messi at 4? I like Messi at 4, dude. Listen, man, the World Cup win last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That validated it for me.
That validated it for me.
I mean, that was the icing on the cake of maybe the greatest soccer career of all time. He's lost a step though, even though Argentina won, by the way, which was a pick by you, right? You picked Argentina to win?
Yes.
Or did you pick Uruguay?
No, I picked Argentina.
And you picked Spain.
I did.
And you called for the fire of Berhalter.
Correct.
You were 3 for 3 out of our last podcast. Do you know that? 3 for 3.
Hey, man. I'm a fan of the sport. What can I say?
Dude, them firing Berhalter, it had to happen. But anyway, I digress. If you want to have a female included, and maybe you should, and maybe she's deserved it. Maybe it's not even a female conversation. But the female of Serena Williams can go behind Lionel Messi. Not ahead of Lionel Messi, not ahead of Michael Phelps, not ahead of Tiger Woods, and not ahead of Tom Brady. And that is not because she's female. That's because those other 4 are better athletes than she is in their respective sports. And she's amazing. But the competition is better in those other sports. The pressure is higher in those other sports. And it goes on and on and on. And I really like Serena Williams. This is Serena Williams now. I got her in my top 5. But she's not ahead of those other guys. Then I've got LeBron. I got LeBron behind Serena.
Really?
Listen, dude, I just don't love LeBron. I don't.
No. I'm surprised you have him in your top 10.
I think you had to have an NBA player there. I think the NBA is probably the greatest athletes in the world. And he was the best NBA player over this period of time.
Yeah.
I don't love him.
No, I think that's fair. No, I mean, I think that's
I don't love him.
I'm giving you credit for that. That's fair.
And then I've got Djokovic, who was at 11. I bumped him up. I like Djokovic over Roger Federer. I think Djokovic is actually a better tennis player than Federer. And I love Federer, and I loved his game. But Djokovic is nuts, man. That guy's crazy. And I think he's a better tennis player. Then you can start throwing in Simone Biles, Usain Bolt, Kobe. I don't care after that. Where did I go wrong? Where did the list go wrong?
No. I honestly don't have any issues with your re-ranking. I think I would have Usain Bolt a little bit higher.
Maybe ahead of Djokovic?
Oh, yeah, I would, because we talked about with Phelps up there with the every 4 years things. I mean, the guy he won it in 3 straight Olympics, the 100-meter final.
200-meter final too, right? Did he do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Beijing in 2008, 2012 in London, and then in Rio in 2016. And that's what I can't believe. When he did it in 2016, when he should not have been there anymore, and he still won it. It was just like, this guy is the greatest of all time. He's the greatest Olympian. At least for me, he's the greatest Olympian of all time. I like Phelps because he's American, but come on, man, you just cannot touch this dude on the track. I think that's the only issue that I had really with your top 7. Mine would include Usain Bolt, but I love you having Tiger Woods up there at 2. I got no problem with Brady at number 1. Messi up there as well. So yeah, man, you did a pretty good job. Usually, I'm going to argue with your list, but
I think they're too high with Serena, and I think they're too high with LeBron. I guess and I think they're way, 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 way too low with both Brady and Tiger. And you know what? Part of me thinks that I just don't know that Brady will ever get the respect because of playing with New England and playing with Belichick, even though he won a Super Bowl without Belichick, and starting off the way he did, right? Not with the fanfare and with the expectations. Yeah. And he's a game manager, and
he was to begin his career,
but man, he just morphed into the best football player of all time.
The guy, and he became that guy. I remember when they got Randy Moss. I'm like, oh my, like I didn't realize Tom Brady had this in him because they just didn't throw the ball down the field like that.
Yeah, because they didn't have anybody else. Dude, and let that sink in. How many running backs and the Patriot way worked. Once a running back they were done. Like they didn't stick with running backs, they didn't stick with receivers, especially with receivers. I mean, he made guys like Wes Welker and Julian Edelman famous.
Yeah,
like they were good, but they weren't top 10 receivers in the league.
Super Bowl guys. No,
the only top 10 receiver in the league he ever had was Randy Moss.
Correct.
Right.
At least in New England.
He tried to have Antonio
Mike Evans in Tampa for sure.
Oh, for sure.
The top 10 receiver. 100%. But I mean in New England though, it was only Randy Moss.
Oh, who am I thinking of that he tried to have on the Patriots? He was
Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown, that's right. He tried to have Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown.
And they did bring him to Tampa too. He's got some issues going on, man.
He does. I am excited to see. I'm excited for. I think we've talked about this, but I'm going to just bring it up. I'm excited to see him as a commentator. I think he is just going to be really, really, really good.
Yeah. I know he did a little bit of stuff on the XFL, or what do they call that? Football league.
UFL.
Spring league. UFL.
Mm-hmm.
On that, and he did a good job. Yeah, I'm excited to see him. It's a lot of pressure though, right? Going into the number one spot.
Is he kicking out
to the number one chair?
He's kicking out Olsen, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Olsen win an Emmy?
Did he?
I think he might.
I like Olsen. I thought Olsen did a good job.
He's fine, but man, it doesn't have the cachet of Brady.
No, not at all.
Doesn't have the cachet of Brady.
Yeah, and I'm not. This is how these things work, right? I mean, Phil Simms was the number one guy with Jim Nantz, and then Tony Romo comes in, and he's instantly in that number one spot and has done really good. Although that first year was really good. I don't know if he's matched that.
No, he hasn't.
But that first year, man, was unbelievable. Hopefully it doesn't turn out like our guy Jason Witten doing Monday Night Football, which unfortunately for him was a disaster.
Dude, I feel like in Monday Night Football, they literally just made for years and years and years made decisions to make the bet. They decided to make the wrong decision.
So you're saying you didn't like Dennis Miller calling football games? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, I'm gonna tell you what, dude. There was not a bigger Dennis Miller fan than me in America. I love that guy. I still love him. It was awful. Dude, Rush Limbaugh? Are you kidding? Rush Limbaugh. Let that sink in. Dennis Miller was better than Rush Limbaugh. I mean, it's just terrible. What were they doing?
I don't know what they were thinking. Rush Limbaugh in the pregame show. Dennis Miller calling Monday Night Football games.
Wasn't Rush in the booth at one point?
Was he?
Are you sure?
He might have been. Why?
I'm going to look this up.
I'm glad they've got Buck and Aikman now, by the way. They said they finally came to the senses and it's like, listen, let's stop messing around here.
Oh, he was the countdown show. You're right. Okay. He was the countdown show.
Still, even then, why do we need? I don't know what they were thinking, but I'm glad they just went and money grabbed Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. We're taking Fox's number one guys. I don't know how much they're paying them, but to get Joe Buck to leave Fox, where he also called the World Series, get him to do that.
You know what the problem is, though? you find yourself watching the Manning cast.
I know, it's so good.
It's really good, dude.
It's so good. It's hard because I enjoy Troy Aikman's breakdowns, and Joe Buck does a good job. But then you got the Manning cast. You got Peyton and Eli, and hearing them talk about everything that's happening, it always gives great insight. And then they have great guests.
Great guests. Yeah, awesome guests. I love it. They're really, I don't know. The NFL's got to figure it out. All right. One last major event happening in sports right now is as of recording this, the first round in the Open Championship being played at Royal Troon in Troon, Scotland, has completed. The leader on the day, Shane Lowry and Daniel Brown, both at -5. Shane Lowry from Ireland, Daniel Brown from England. Justin Thomas is at -3 for the United States, Schauffele at -2. Other noted players, Brooks Koepka at 1, Scotty at 1, under, Spieth is even. Abe Answer from Oklahoma, I had to bring him in because you already got Scotty and you'll get Scotty and Spieth here. Yeah, Spieth's at even. Abe Answers at +2, Phil Mickelson +2, Bryson DeChambeau disappointing +5, McIlroy even more disappointing +7, and the aforementioned second greatest athlete of the 2000s shot a +8 today and is in serious danger of missing the cut. Troon is a 10-time host of the Open Championship. Its most famous hole is the number 8. It's called the postage stamp hole because it is as small as a postage stamp. You will hear words that describe the vegetation such as ilex, gorse, furze, and whin, W-H-I-N, to describe the vegetation around the course. Lots of blind shots. Unfortunately, looking at the forecast, the wind is not expected to be brutal. A little rain on Saturday. Look, when you watch a British Open or an Open Championship, as it's referred, you want brutal wind. You want conditions. These courses are seaside. They're called links courses because they reside along the seaside. There's not a lot of trees. They don't have a lot of natural defenses except the wind. So if the wind isn't blowing, these courses can get abused. And so -5, that's fine. But if you extrapolate that out, that's -20. That's too high for a major championship. You don't want that. You need some wind.
Yeah, look, you're the golf guy more than I am. But all I know is watching the British Open, those courses seem brutal every year. They seem tough already, and then you add in those conditions, and yeah.
I'll tell you this, for regular golfers, a la myself, I'm like a 10 handicap. Okay. I'm like, oh, that just means you're okay. You're an okay golfer. It's a 10 handicap. I probably not break 100 on it because the areas that when you miss are so penal. You know, it's this gore. You're talking about gorse and ilex and all this kind of stuff. Just this crazy vegetation that's out there. And if you miss it, man, you're in trouble. But for these guys, man, they can pick it apart. If there's no wind, they can pick it apart. So if you're rooting for carnage, you need the wind to blow, rain to rain on Saturday. That's what you really want. The cool part about the British Open is you can wake up at if you can't sleep and you wake up at 3 a.m, you just go turn on TNT or
they're already at it.
They're already at it. I think Tiger's teeing off 2 a.m. tomorrow, something like that. So, but hey, it's really cool. This is the 4th major of the year. I think the 2 you keep an eye on, even though Shane Lowry's won a major before and he's won an Open Championship. I think he won in 2019. I think Justin Thomas is going to throw up on himself. I don't think talk about when Brent Venables said they don't deal well with success. I think Justin Thomas could be at the top of that list for golfers. I like Brooks and Scotty. I think Brooks and Scotty put a good round out tomorrow and position themselves for the weekend. They're the 2 you got to worry about. But Shane Lowry could hold on. He could hold on. He's a good player.
Good stuff.
Kevin, it's been a pretty good show, man. I thought we got into it deep. I wish you would have disagreed more with me on the top professional athletes.
You know, I was expecting to.
What do you think? What do you think I was going to leave LeBron off?
Yeah, legitimately.
No, they did have KD ranked at 39, and I think that's way too high. So there you go. How about that?
Of course you do.
I think it's way too high. It's terrible. It's funny though, because you think about the list. Do you remember at the end of the 20th century when ESPN Classic did the top 100 athletes of the century?
Yeah.
and every week they would unveil a new athlete. The list hasn't quite reached that level yet. We haven't seen Jim Thorpe, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth, Jim Brown. I don't think we've seen that yet in this century. Maybe with Tiger Woods, and until somebody passes Tom Brady. But even then, that list of athletes they rolled out there at the top of the order, I don't think we've seen one of them yet.
No, but we're barely a quarter into it, so long way to go. And it's different too, right? I mean, the guys are everybody's good now. They're just more good athletes than they were back then. So
and more highly
stand out.
Yeah, and more highly scrutinized. They're more highly scrutinized. I agree with that. Yeah. I completely agree with that. Kevin, great show. Great recap on SEC Media Days. Really, really excited to see if Quinn lives up to that walk of his as he walked in. Hoping he fails miserably. But other than that, great show. Thinking. What's that?
I said wishful thinking, man.
Oh, come on. All right. Hey, have a great night. Boomer!
Okay.